like we always do. Then we have two wonderful speakers in our midst today that will be talking to us about our very wonderful topic. And then we have the next steps, the portal walkthrough, and then the membership drive. And then, of course, we would have a group photo like we always do. So quickly, let's introduce ourselves. Let me know what country you're joining from, and then your name, and then your agribusiness. But the essence of this is to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs. Feel free to connect with other people in the comment section, people that are working in the same sector, in the same value chain as you are doing, and also from the same country. That is the essence of BRAISE in the first place, to foster networking among participants in different countries. So quickly, I want to know how you're feeling for today. So today with week 5, and we've come a very long way. We started with climate change and your agribusiness. That's week 1. We did mitigation and adaptation strategy for production, and then we moved to processing, we moved to distribution, logistics and distribution, and then this week we'll be talking about opportunities in agriculture, climate smart agriculture adoption, actually. So so that we don't waste too much time, I'll quickly want us to do AFC, so about African food chain makers. You already know how we work at African chain makers, or what we do. For the past 4 weeks, we've been telling you what we believe, that small and medium-sized enterprises are the lifeblood of the food ecosystem in Africa. These enterprises are driven by visionary, dynamic, and innovative entrepreneurs who operate as primary producers, aggregators, processors, distributors, finance and technology providers, chefs, cooks, consultants, and innovators. We call them change makers. And then these change makers are faced with the devastating impact of climate change. And then they have global and local risks and shocks, macro and microeconomic challenges. These entrepreneurs need funding, they need training, visibility, market linkages, and a community of support to successfully scale their businesses. And that's actually what we do at African Food Chain Makers. So through our hub, we enable African entrepreneurs to start and scale resilient and sustainable agribusinesses that nourish Africa and the world. And how do we do this? Through community, through data and opportunities, through visibility and recognition, and then through learning and trainings, which is where the BRAISE program falls into. So quickly, we want to do the next, which is to meet our top scholars for the week. So to take this, I would like us to, when you see anyone's name there, or we mention anybody's name or the pictures and all that, please celebrate them in the comment section. Let's give them some virtual applause. Let's appreciate and celebrate them, because who knows, maybe next week it might just be your turn to be celebrated as a top scholar. So we really need to celebrate the people that are top scholars for the week. So this week we have Abraham Adeyinka, we have Olayiwola Sarma, we have Rabilu Amza, we have Christian Ado, we have Taunga Banda. Please, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name very well. I'm very sorry. So we have Raphael Lewa, we have Harriet Adams, we have Afolabi Michael, Osman Owidi, Lawa Akim Adiola, we have Iguve Tengu Moses, we have Ayorinde Adewale Sheung, and Adekunle Oyelami. So please, let's celebrate this group of people that made it as the top scholars for week 4. Don't forget, we still have top scholars for week 5 and week 6. So you still have the chance to become a top scholar for the week. And like we have always explained, to become a top scholar, it has to do with your performance in the assessment for the week, and also your attendance for the live interactive session. So thank you very much. Congratulations to all these people that made it to the top scholars for the week. Looking forward to the top scholars for next week. So moving forward, we just want to go to the main dish of the day, which is the topic in itself, which is the speaker presentation. And this is where you get to engage the speakers, where you get to ask especially with what you have learned from the portal and also questions that borders around the topic. We have two wonderful facilitators to take us through the topic for the day. So I would just quickly want to introduce the first facilitator, who is okay, so the topic is opportunities in climate smart agriculture adoption. So we already know that, because for those of us that have gone through module 5, you know this is what the topic is, and then this is what basically the speakers for today, or the facilitators for today, will be talking to us about. So quickly, I want to introduce the first facilitator, and his name is Charles Waweru. If you attended the onboarding, I'm sure you already know Charles. I'm very sure you know Charles if you were part of the onboarding. He's the head of carbon project development for Vast Carbon. Charles Waweru serves as the head of carbon project development at Vast Carbon, dedicated to scaling Africa participation in carbon markets. Vast Carbon was established to scale Africa's involvement in carbon markets, improving lives and livelihoods across the continent. Such is achieved by unlocking climate finance and creating green jobs through our 4 main pillars, which is project financing, digital monitoring, reporting and verification, which is DMRV, community benefit sharing, and transparency. We pride ourselves on being both a technology provider in carbon markets and a developer of carbon offset projects. Charles' journey is distinguished by a blend of rigorous academic discipline and practical expertise. Charles holds a degree in applied mathematics and is currently pursuing an MSc in environmental sciences. His academic pursuits are further complemented by PGDIP in GHGMRV, which is Greenhouse Gas Measurements, Reporting and Verification, deepening his expertise in the carbon markets. As an active carbon market specialist, Charles has an exceptional grasp of environmental regulatory frameworks and adeptness in navigating government relations within carbon markets. His skill set extends across various methodologies utilized by leading carbon registries, including Article 6, Vera, Gold Standard, CDM, and Plan Vivo. Charles' interest in carbon markets, in carbon projects, as diverse, encompassing clean cooking practices in schools and households, blue carbon, livestock methane reduction, improved agricultural and management, electric mobility, and renewable energy. When not developing carbon projects, Charles is keen on knowledge sharing and capacity building in the carbon markets, whereby he has undertaken several grassroots, national and international events. In addition, Charles is keen on driving initiatives towards supporting government in developing their carbon markets activation plans. Oh, you will agree with me that we'll have a carbon market expert in our midst to take us through opportunities in carbon markets and climate financing. So please, you join me to give a virtual round of applause to our first facilitator, Charles Waweru. So Charles, please, if you are on the call, over to you.
Hello, I hope you can hear me. Please just confirm. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great, thanks. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking time today to try and learn a bit of two things about the opportunities in climate smart agriculture. Maybe I could get access to share. Not sharing, okay, just share. Yeah, just give me a moment to project.
Sorry, Charles, I've stopped sharing so that you can go ahead and share your screen.
Oh, cool, thanks.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Thanks. Somebody please confirm they can see my screen. Yeah, great. So thanks again for taking time this afternoon to come and have a conversation about the opportunities in climate smart agriculture. As you're all familiar with the kind of program that the Africa Food Chain Makers is developing, you're trying to build resilient communities and make sure that the work that you're doing as agripreneurs is going to be supported and sustainable, and of course, top thing being resilient against any any adverse climatic effects. My name is Charles Orero. I'm the Director of Carbon Project Development at a company called Vast Carbon. It's a company that's dealing with both developing carbon projects and, of course, leveraging climate technology to support the growth of or the unlocking of carbon markets. One of the key areas of opportunities, as we all know, is Africa is, besides the nascent areas of technology or manufacturing, Africa is very big on agriculture. Whenever you make sure a country has got food security, for example, it presents a big opportunity for the country to grow. If you're familiar with history, again, you'll note that most of the current developed countries all began through improving the agricultural production before they went to industrialization. However, in the case of Africa, it's not yet there. But looking at a program like what AFC is trying to do, we're trying to see if we can nurture the next generation of agripreneurs who are going to really unlock the maximum potential of agriculture. Now, the interesting bit is there's a very good intersection between what we can do in the areas of climate smart agriculture, and at the same time be able to do a lot in terms of climate. Remember, agriculture is all about how do we handle the farm, whether it's going to the agricultural produce or even the livestock. How can we intersect this and make sure we do it sustainably? Now, interestingly, as I'm going to be sharing to you right now, is that when you're looking at climate smart agriculture, it looks at how can you basically be able to use the least amount of resources but get the most from the particular land. That said, the opportunity of climate smart agriculture looks coming into the carbon market is very simple. If you're able to undertake an agricultural project that is either going to be resulting in the removal or reduction of the greenhouse gases, then you could potentially be able to generate what we call now the emissions reductions or the carbon credits. For me, I'll be very brief in terms of telling you some of the opportunities. So then, by way of you guys asking me questions, I can get you to make sure you are able to unlock more and more of this. But of course, I'll be available for further questions after today's call. Now, the main objective of climate smart agriculture is very, very simple. You want to increase your productivity, you want to make sure there is climate resilience, and most importantly, you want to reduce the emissions. As you'll notice that, for example, whenever there's a lot of GHG emissions coming from your farmyard, then there'll be a lot of disruption in terms of to the farmer or even some of the animals. Those of you, for example, are working within the livestock sector and you're managing a lot of a huge livestock herd, you will notice there's a very big opportunity, for example, whereby through the way of manure. By being able to manage the manure, you might be potentially be able to just one, create a safe environment or safe and clean environment for your livestock, but also reduce emissions. Again, you might have heard of something like biogas, for example. This is something, it's a commodity that's literally being generated from waste. But by you being able to manage it, you're able to generate an alternative revenue, not only from one, the generation of biogas, but also for potentially reducing GHG emissions, which I'll tell to you in a moment. And all of this, for example, is very clear that climate smart agriculture has certain challenges. For example, there's a high cost requirement when it comes to climate smart agriculture in terms of just trying to make sure you embed all the practices. Number two, there's lack of climate intelligence. For example, we find farmers who are just always every month in, month out, they're planting the trees, they're planting the cash crops, not bearing in mind on the change in the trends within the climatic setting in each country. Where you are right now, this is in Ghana or Nigeria or even Kenya, the current climatic setting is not as it was 10 years ago. That being said, you need to always be making sure you're always updating your climate intelligence. And then lastly is the cultural and social resistance. For example, in some pastoralist communities, you're always told that there are new ways of doing pastoralism. It could be zero grazing or rotational grazing, for example. How can you, for example, just make sure you're able to adapt these new practices being put forward to you, and also, of course, make sure your agricultural process is sustainable. Before I come to the case of the carbon prices, you might be wondering, what are some of the different activities you can be able to undertake within your farm to make sure you're able to generate carbon credits? If you're looking at what you call agricultural land management is simply saying the number of ways in which you can make sure you're sustainably undertaking climatic projects within the areas of agriculture. For example, I've mentioned one of the easiest ways is, for example, the production of bioslurry. For you to get bioslurry, you must be able, first of all, to produce biochar. And how do you get biochar? By simply collecting agricultural and farm waste, you're able to make sure that that which will have been considered as a waste, whereby the farmer is going to be burning, or let's say simply be leaving it to rot there. We are now saying is take the biochar, take the waste, take it to a process called pyrolysis or gasification, and convert the animal and food waste into what we call the biochar. When you get the biochar, it's a black substance. You then do what you call soil amendments. You take the biochar, you do an analysis of your map and of your land and see which mineral is missing. For example, it could be nitrogen, it could be phosphorus. You mix these minerals with the biochar, and you can over time get the bioslurry. Then you take the bioslurry, you put it into your land. Over time, what happens is the biochar component in the bioslurry is going to make sure that any nutrient within the topsoil is going to be held within a cohesive soil structure, such that even if it's going to be raining, the topsoil will not be easily washed away. And most importantly, one of the key benefits of bioslurry and of course biochar in general is improving the soil water retention. That's to mean that if you're dealing with soil that is loose topsoil, then you're able to make sure that whenever it rains, the minerals remain within the topsoil without being washed away. Over time, therefore, you're going to be improving your soil. You know very well that the only reason why you eat nutritious meals is because those nutrition comes from the minerals within the soil. So you need to make sure that you're always making sure you're regenerating your soil. Undertaking a biochar project can potentially give you what you call the biochar credits, which if you monetize that, you get additional revenue that you can then put it back into your business. Another area, and for those of you into livestock, is the issue on rotational grazing. Rotational grazing is important because it allows you to graze your livestock in bits and pieces of a land, simply allowing the first lot after being grazed to regenerate itself or recover as you're going to be grazing on the next lot and next lot. What then happens is, because you're able to make sure that the soil organic carbon content of your land has been preserved systematically, there are projects, let's say one in South Africa, which I'll be talking about briefly towards the end of the presentation. They've been able to generate this so-called carbon credits because what they're able to do is reduce the amount of GHG emissions because by way of managing the soil organic carbon content in rotational grazing. That's just one of the many different climate smart agricultural processes. Another one you can consider is agroforestry. Now, depending on which country you're from, you have a case whereby certain communities are allowed to live within the forest sector. But at the same time, they're also allowed to undertake sustainable agricultural practices whereby, one, they can do some bit of pastoralism, and two, some bit of crop farming within forest sectors, on the condition that as they're taking care of their crops, they're also taking care of the forest. This is a very, very important opportunity that allows different communities to really be able to live in tune or in harmony with the ecosystem, and also to have natural foresters who will be preventing deforestation of such forest ecosystem. Globally, or even I can give the example of, let's say, Uganda. There's a company called Kijani Forestry. They're very big on agroforestry, whereby they work with smallholder farmers who are living within the autonomous sector of a forest and allow them and support them in undertaking the crop activities whilst within the forest settings. Over time, what you realize is some of these trees can even act as sheds for some of these the crops that you're going to be rearing. And over time, if you're able to demonstrate that you're able to nurture and protect trees, you can get carbon credits from that as well. Another very important area is within managing the methane coming from cows by way of the enteric methane. As you're aware, if you're into the livestock sector, what happens is the livestock is feeding and they're bluffing because of the nature of the digestive system, which is for ruminant digestion. There are certain enzymes within each which then release the methane. What you don't know is that you have a project in the UK, for example, that has been able to take the red seaweed from some of these coastlines and produced or generated a specific feed additive that is able to reduce the it is able to reduce the amount of methane coming from the livestock. And over time, you're able to generate carbon credits because methane is one of the greenhouse gases that, if being trapped, reduced, or removed, can equally result in the generation of carbon credits. But of course, all these examples of how you can generate carbon credits are through what we call carbon methodologies for each and every single one of them. It is through the application of these carbon standards and carbon methodologies you're able to quantify how much greenhouse gas emissions have you been able to remove from the atmosphere. As I mentioned, there are quite a number of different projects of people within the agricultural area. For example, in South Africa, there's a project on what we call grasslands restoration and stewardship, whereby the proponent or the developer has been able to group several pieces of land, especially those handling on the areas of grassland, and undertake what we call one, improvement of soil organic carbon, and also reducing the amount of methane coming from the livestock who are riding in some of these grasslands. The project will run for about 30 years. That's what we call the crediting period. In this case, it means for the next 30 years, this particular company has the opportunity of generating carbon credits per annum. The figure quoted there, 488,659 tons of CO2e, are the number of carbon credits they're able to generate. And I will go back to a screen and show you the prices. A typical price for such an product goes for about $80. So what you're simply saying is the additional revenue that this particular farming community or farmer company is able to do is $80 multiplied by 0.48 million credits. That computation is the amount of additional revenue that they can potentially generate by every given hour, every given year, alongside whatever they are doing within the grassland area. Another project also and in South Africa is the land regeneration through agroforestry in a part of South Africa called Mpumalanga. And they're also trying to mix the case of cultivating bamboos with fruit trees. So one, you'll be able to get the credits by way of the forestry and also through the fruit trees, whereby you'll be able to measure the soil organic carbon and see from the soil what have you been able to retain or capture from the atmosphere by way of GHG. In this particular case, they're looking at generating as high as 349,000 carbon credits. If you're wondering about the prices, as you can see here, if you're looking at the case of a carbon project in the area of agricultural land management practices, you're looking at the prices going anywhere between $10 and $80. So the opportunity is there, and we are simply saying that you keep doing what you call the climate smart agricultural prices, and then you simply try and see how best can you embed the carbon market opportunity. Now, for those of you in Ghana, you'll be very familiar with a certain arrangement done between the government in Ghana and that, let's say, one in the Swedish government or the other one in the Swiss government, whereby a foundation called the Click Foundation is working very closely with rice farmers. Now, previously, you'll find that for you to do rice cultivation, you need to ensure the entire rice farm is flooded. However, when you flood the rice farm, what you don't know is happening, what you're doing is that you're creating an anaerobic environment, an environment of little to no oxygen within the ecosystem. What then happens over time is the microorganisms in the flooded area, they tend to die because of lack of oxygen, and as they're decomposing, they're releasing significant amount of methane. Yes, there's a lot of methane that's often being emitted from rice farms. So with the climate smart agricultural approach is you do avoided wetting of lands, but still being able to harvest, to grow and harvest the rice. And because you've been able to reduce the amount of methane coming from such a setting, you're able to generate this so-called carbon credits. There are quite a number of potential carbon projects, even within agriculture. There are quite a number. I'll just skim through some of them. I've mentioned sustainable agriculture, which is basically in the areas of you're trying to improve the soil organic carbon content. There's also the area of livestock methane, whereby with livestock methane, you can decide to manage the manure and generate gas, the biogas for electricity, or the reducing enteric fermentation from the livestock. And also, of course, like the example in South Africa, is grassland and rangeland management. There's one in South Africa. There's also one in Kenya, for example. And here you're dealing with a huge number of smallholder farmers being put together through a process called aggregation. There are quite a number of other carbon projects outside within the areas of agriculture. We've got quite a number in forestry, as you can see here, and I'll be able to share this presentation with the AFC, who will then be able to share this with you to your respective chat channels. Otherwise, I know there's a lot to compose, but what I'm also very optimistic is the fact that most of you being agripreneurs, you have either done something in livestock, something in agroforestry and whatnot. What you don't know or what you need to know that you can do is, depending on you being able to prove that what you're doing is above and beyond the norm, and you have a good scale, or even if not in a good scale, you can be aggregated alongside other agripreneurs or other farmers, there is a potential case for you to do a carbon project, generate the so-called carbon credits, and over time, when you monetize it, get carbon finance, and you put that resource back into your ecosystem. I'm very happy to extend this conversation via chat or via email, and we'll be able to share with you in the chat box, but there's a lot of opportunity there, and the agriculture, there's massive opportunities with the area of agriculture. You can have your food crops being harvested, and you can also be able to generate this additional revenue we call the carbon finance, the carbon credits, and you put it back into your business and scale even higher. I hope it has been useful. Others, I'm open to any question that anybody might be having. I'll also be posting my email in case you just want to reach out for further engagement or on the same. Otherwise, I'll stop there for now. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. Thank you so much these things. So thank you so much. And I'm sure participants are all learning about the opportunities that are inherent in climate smart agriculture. So before we start open this space for questions, let's go to the second speaker, so that when it comes to the Q&A, we just start and we don't need to go back again and all that. So quickly, I'll share my screen to introduce the next speaker. Okay. So for the next speaker, we are having Wolali Senyo. Is the country manager for Ghana Farmer Line Group. And to quickly introduce him, is the Ghana country manager for Farmer Line, and he has significantly advanced the company's mission to enhance farmers' profits through innovative solutions. Under his leadership, Farmer Line has expanded its services, impacting thousands of farmers with productivity, market access, and financial inclusion tools. The company has achieved notable awards and recognition from Time Magazine, Bloomberg, and the World Economic Forum. With 15 plus years of experience in agriculture and ICT, Olali shares expertise in mobile technologies for agriculture and rural development, representing Farmer Line at high-profile events and showcasing agri-tech's transformative potential in Africa. So if you are still here, please let's put our hands together for Wolali Senyo as he takes over the virtual podium. So please let's welcome our next speaker. Wolali, if you are on the call, I'll just leave it to you.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction.
Thank you, sir.
Hope you can hear me.
Loud and clear, we can hear you, sir.
Perfect. So it's really great to see a lot of entrepreneurs sharing and also really eager to transform the face of agriculture, but importantly, to create livelihoods for themselves and also for their families. What I would try to do, and I think the earlier speaker did a good job. We didn't really know each other, but he highlighted some of the key, fundamentals about climate smart agriculture. So I wouldn't spend so much time on dealing with those sort of key topics. But I think it's important that we know, and I believe during your sessions, you've been introduced to these concepts, but also why it is so important. And so what I'll do is to just try to recap and then share with you some opportunities and then go into a bit more the case of Farmerline, how we saw this as an opportunity, and working using our model as a way to, build resilience for farmers who for us are the core or at the center of this whole discussion. And so if we solve problems for them, we create wealth for ourselves in doing so. Yeah, and then the next step. So I think the challenge of climate change is real. We all experiencing it in one way or the other. And the interesting fact is that there is an interconnection between climate change and agriculture. However, as you see it, agric is unfortunately most vulnerable to the impact of climate change compared to other sectors. Despite the fact that it also contributes, about 9.9 billion, tons of CO2 emissions, which is 19% from literature. We also see that it is affecting crop yields. The estimate is that this would reduce to about 25% by 2050 in sub-Saharan Africa. And these are really important because we are seeing right now in Africa that, the extreme heat and drought. I think we are noticing this over the past decade in one of Africa, and as we now Sudan, Somalia, there have been prolonged droughts. I think recently in East Africa, Kenya, to be precise, there have been floods. And all this have impact on agriculture. And like I said, agriculture is the most affected, comparing industry, manufacturing. When it comes to the impact that climate change presents, agriculture is the one that is most devastated in this. Beyond all this, it has economic implication, which is that we could lose our ability to grow our economies because Africa is largely agrarian to a large extent. Most of us we could have about 15% of the GDP, and that's a huge amount. I mean, if you take, for example, Ghana, with GDP over, what do you call it, 100 billion, and you are looking at 15% of that. That's a huge amount that could solve problems. Right now, Ghana is going through an IMF program, and we're asking for $3 billion. Can you imagine what that would cost to many nations on the continent? So this is a big problem that we need to take action on as young people, as entrepreneurs. But doing so means that you are creating wealth and you are establishing yourself. I think earlier speaker did a good job about what climate change, climate smart agriculture is. So I wouldn't want to bore us so much, but I think the key highlight is that it is not about a set of practices that you apply. So you go and take something from Kenya and just come and apply in Ghana, or take something from Ghana and go and apply it in, Nigeria. It doesn't work like that. It has to be local or context specific. So you need to contextualize. And that is why local entrepreneurs like yourself are really critical in taking this and, expanding these, approaches. It requires both on-farm and off-farm activity. So it goes beyond just doing things on your farm. It's also about things out beyond the farm. And so what it means is that there's opportunity to, if you don't want to go into the production or do anything within the, from production all the way to post-harvest, there is still opportunity for you to play a role beyond the farm. and it incorporates technology. So it's not just looking at technologies from the digital side or looking at it from the innovations, but also policy, investment and then institutions, which are critical in making sure that climate smart agriculture really is effective in enabling, sustainable increase in production, building resilience, and also the mitigation impact of, or the mitigation aspect of, building climate resilience. And I think I wouldn't want to spend time on it because the earlier presenter spoke on this. I'll move into sort of some of the opportunities that we see. And I think he focused on the last bit, which is on the carbon market. I think is huge. All right. What I'll be looking at is mostly on the digital agriculture, but also to a large extent how that translates into building climate resilient, crop, which Farmerline has been very actively involved in. But the important thing is that adaptation of climate smart agricultural practices involves water management, or it is important to consider how well you are managing water, the soil, and then energy. And for me, these are three critical elements that if you have a hold on, can transform your, your investment into multiple folds. The reason is if you're into agriculture, one of the biggest problems you face is making sure that you have good water management. If your soil is not good, forget it. No matter how much you invest in it, it would not result or translate into the best and efficient or increased productivity. And the last point is on energy efficiency. We spend a lot on energy, but Africa has abundance of sunlight. And so being able to transform that into, sustainable or renewable energy is really powerful. And I think solar is one of the biggest, drivers that if we're able to tap into, can help in shaping how we innovate and how we, grow industries in agriculture. I understand the agribusiness market is about $1 trillion, okay, worth. And even if you get a 1% of that as a local agribusiness, it's a huge amount that can transform your community and your nation as a whole. There is also the bit in the area of innovative technology, and that's what I said I wanted to highlight more on, to showcase and share with you what Farmerline has been doing over the period. But the beauty of it is that it allows you to use technology tools to monitor crop health, make better decisions, and also help support farmers who depend on agriculture as a way of living. There are also elements around climate resilience, so adopting drought resistance, and these are for, researchers who are among us who also who are taking on entrepreneurship, how they develop drought resistant, early maturing varieties, disease and pest resistant. These are all opportunities that is transforming global South. And if we take advantage of this as young people, young entrepreneurs, graduates coming from the universities or technical schools, we will be able to, change the face of Africa. On the carbon market, I don't need to talk about it because a perfect job being done, but that's a huge market opportunity for us because the South, I mean, as in Western countries, are polluting a lot. And so we being, innovative can take advantage of that and, sequestrate carbon in a way to be paid for. And I think, it showed that a chart with many projects that could be tapped into. And so please look at these as beyond the challenges, we facing in terms of employment, etc. Be more innovative, think outside the box and see this as ways of, creating jobs for yourself, for your community, and, leaving an indelible ink on our planet. Just to mention to you an initiative that Farmerline launched last year, which we dubbed Mission 13 and basically taking it after the Sustainable Development Goal 13. And for us, as an ag tech company, we see it as a very important objective for us to, our survival as a business means that we need to live on a planet that is livable. As we speak now, the science hasn't yet confirmed that there is some evidence that we could locate some planet like Earth where we can live. But until that is fully confirmed and we've been able to send probes or whatnot to those planets, this is the only one we have, and we have to cherish and keep it really well. And so we decided to take on a non-for-profit initiative, which is DAB Mission 13. And the whole idea is, how do we help bridge the financing gap that exists for adopting climate innovations or practices to agribusinesses and smallholder farmers? Because for us, we believe this is the core of our existence. And so as a company, our mission is to create lasting profit for farmers everywhere. And this really defines everything we do. Farmerline was established 11 years ago. We currently have 9 subsidiaries across Africa. We've been able to reach over 2.2 million farmers. We have our technology mean licenses in 50 countries. We've been able to deploy $50 million worth of our own investment to support farmers throughout our network. I have in this picture Linda, who is the MD of Nitigra Enterprise. It's a local agribusiness here in Ghana, in the northern part of Ghana. And she is into organic fertilizer and pesticide production. And Farmerline is partnered with her to support farmers in a network. And this is the sort of story we want to drive, we want to showcase, because this is how we change our own ecosystem to affect the bigger mass. So what we do at Farmerline is basically to help serve farmers or create a marketplace where we combine digital tools, we use logistics, field agents, resources, and partnership like Madam Linda's company, to support farmers across Africa. And so we support in the area of agro inputs, we support in the area of advisory services, and we support in the area of market access. Because of time, I won't be able to go through all of this, but this, for us, we believe is the core of how we can transform or build resilience for smallholder farmers. On the other side, we know that as a business, we can't do it all. We need to work together. And so we partner with businesses, such as organizations such as development partners, so NGOs. We partner with global food companies, and then we also partner with governments, where we offer our technologies that we've built, because there's no need to reinvent the wheel. We spent 11 years perfecting and building technology solutions that can scale and support in training farmers. There's no need, per our view, to go back or for someone to start all over again. You can leverage the tools that are existing and leapfrog on that to create the impact needed. And so that's, in summary, okay, what Farmerline does. And in all this, we keep farmers at the center, because it is to focus on helping farmers get the needed services, which is quality inputs at better price, affordable prices, training, continuous training, and market access. And so what is this Mission 13, really trying to focus on? What is it trying to promote? At the core of it is helping build farmer resilience and also improve productivity. I think the statistics says that by 2030, the population will be over 9 billion. And if we are to feed this population, which mostly comes from smallholder farmers supplying 70% of this, we need to double the production. And as I already mentioned, this interconnection between climate change and agriculture. If we are to increase production, one way of doing it is clear existing forests and then expand land, right? The other option is, okay, intensify production on your small piece of land, adopting real, sustainable practices. And so that's what we are promoting in our network. How do we help farmers increase productivity within a given farm size they have, leveraging solutions that are proving to be high impact and also, reduces the footprint that they have. But in so doing, also benefiting from some of the carbon programs that is already existing, as was shared by our earlier speaker. And so on one breath, we are promoting adoption of solar irrigation systems. So going back to what I mentioned earlier, water management, looking at soil management, and then looking at energy management. These are core. So we're promoting solar irrigation systems to help farmers produce all year round, not depend solely on rainfall. We're also helping to, promote climate, smart inputs. Here we are looking at disease, early or drought resistant seeds, hybrid seeds. We are promoting organic or helping them to transition to organic fertilizer. We're also helping, in training them to use agroforestry as way to help, build biomass for our carbon sequestration through, biomass of these trees. And for us, we believe that these innovations, some of them exist from indigenous knowledge, which our forefathers have been working on. So we engage farmers. We also look at literature, best practices that are available, and contextualize to help farmers. But how do you do this in a way that is sustainable and scalable? We use both in-person through the network of field agents and also digital. And we believe this helps us, this combination is helping us to create more impact than traditional approaches. You can, in Africa, just say you're going to use technology alone to train farmers. Because, for example, farmers, it's about trust, about relationship. And you need that in-person engagement to build that trust, that relationship. And so leveraging that with our field agents and complementing that also with technology, we are reducing the cost associated with providing this continuous training for farmers. Just to share with you some of the impact of the work we're doing. This was done by 60 Decibels. And as you can see, 60 Decibel is an impact evaluation company. And it's a third party, that did an assessment. So we did a baseline in 2021, looking at the climate resilience and adaptation of farmers in our network. And like you can see, in 2021, 30% of farmers are resilient. This was measured across three sort of spectrum: the ability to adapt in terms of due to good land and water management, access to enablers such as credit, and then how they're able to adapt to shocks. And as you can see, when it was done for this year, which was for 2023, which is, we see 53% in terms of resilience, how farmers have built resilience. And this is not us doing our own work. We also measure the impact we're creating, but this is from a third party telling us that we are doing something really well. And what that means is that it's creating, impact, but then also it's creating wealth for us because we can use this to attract investment. We can use this to scale our innovation. I was listening to radio this morning, and then one phrase that really got to me was that, money follows innovation, successful innovations. So if you're doing something really, really good, trust you me, money will follow you. You will not follow money, but money will follow you. So look to really solving problems, put your heart and passion to it. And I think the reward would show for itself. This is just to highlight the skill of the technology solutions that we built and how we are leveraging that to create more impact. All right. As we speak, our technology has been licensed to organizations in 50 countries, over 3,000 partners over the past 10 years. We are actively supporting 1 million farmers, training them, in climate smart practices. We are monitoring over 280 million acres of national forest land, leveraging satellite data across 5 countries. We have also conducted EUDR compliance check on over 707,000 plots that we've digitized to, in our platform to check whether they are EUDR compliant. This is one of the regulations that have been passed, and it's going to be in force next year. So any company in Europe that is importing crops such as soya bean, cocoa, coffee, oil palm into Europe need to show that they are sourcing from non-deforested area. And the way that you have to do this is using technology, and we've built this, and so helping partners to be able to easily access the European market. So if you're an agribusiness looking to tap into European market, you need to show to your buyer in Europe that the farmers you are working with are not producing in, forested areas, else you cannot sell. And this is going to be mandatory. And this is just the start. Other countries are following suit. I know the US is doing same, Japan, UK. So the earlier you, as a business, you prepare yourself to face the trends in the market, the better it is for you, for your survival as a business. So what does all this mean for us as a business? I think one of the key things that we believe in is strategic partnership. And this is at the heart of the work we do. As I mentioned, in the very first, in the case study, we work through partnership, strategic partners with agri-SMEs to serve smallholder farmers, because it's about building a relationship, it's about building trust. So if you're an agribusiness working with farmers, what can you offer these farmers that establishes your relationship beyond just a transactional, oh, you're supplying me soya bean, I buy and that is it. Goes beyond, that, but then you are thinking about the livelihood of the farmer, the family, and everything concerning the farmer. And so what we are planning to, or what this Mission 13 program is seeking to do, is in the next decade, we want to really take high, impact services, not being produced only by Farmerline, but other collaborators. And I'll show some of them that we are talking to. We take these products, innovations, and deliver them to smallholder farmers across Africa towards achieving the net zero, mission. And so we're looking at extension training, because it is very critical. We need to change behavior. The way we do things would not help change our world. We need to change the way we are doing things. And that will only happen when we are constantly reminded of how we have to do that. Also, it's about supporting farmers with quality inputs, affordable prices, making it possible for them to get it at the right time. Also providing them the knowledge and understanding of how to apply these with a changing climate condition, promoting agroforestry, because it is important. If you look at satellite imagery over the past 20, 50 years, the change in the forest cover, it's so disheartening across Africa. We need to claim back, the lands that have been degraded through agroforestry. And so promoting, intercropping with tree crops in farms, these are innovations, very simple, which our forefathers used to do. And so we need to go back to some of these ideas, perfect them and scale them, and that becomes your innovation. in climate smart agriculture. But beyond that, you have to work with partners. We need to work with global food companies. We need to work with large NGOs that are looking for ideas that they can use to support with the funds they have. We need to also talk to the financial institutions so that we can attract the billions of dollars that is needed. Currently, the financing gap is over $100 billion annually for us to achieve our net zero target by 2030 for Africa alone. We need financial institutions to step in, but how would they get the comfort? We have to show that there are innovations, there are entrepreneurs who can be ready to take on this. We need to engage our governments to bring them along, to get them to, adopt these technologies that we are perfecting. And all these we can't do alone. We need to leverage the advancement in technology. As we speak, there is, AI, there are, machine learning models, etc. Now we have ChatGPT and the rest that are changing the way we do things. And so we'll need to tap into the latest technology to have better insights for monitoring, for tracking what is happening within our supply chain, because that is what is going to open doors for us when we go to markets, both local in terms of within the African region, and also, in Europe, in Asia, in the Americas. Just to highlight some of the partners we are working with, like I said, we don't see us working alone. So we have EnviroFit. It is a clean cooking stove manufacturing company that we are supporting to distribute these stoves to farmers to reduce the use of charcoal or firewood, because these are more efficient, over 50 times more efficient than the traditional cook stove. We work with research institutions like the CGR network. We work with IITA, taking scientifically proven innovations, making it easily accessible to farmers. We are working with Safisana. It is they take human waste, our poop, and then convert it into fertilizer, which we are distributing to farmers, promoting the use of these technologies. So when farmers say they want it, we're able to connect them so they can get access to that. We're also working with Systema Bio in Ghana here, where we're distributing bio gas systems for their own cooking in their homes. We're also working with the Ghana Climate Innovation Center, which is training agribusinesses, local agribusinesses, to understand the importance of climate change and why they should take on, climate smart practices, and hence also pass it on to their farmers, building the next generation of climate smart businesses with Acorn, Rabobank, with the agroforestry program. So just to highlight a few, and for us, this is just the beginning. There are more opportunities, there are more businesses that are developing innovations in the biochars and the rest that we can take to farmers. So I really want to call on everyone here that please join this mission. Now, we were supposed to take action like yesterday. We are very late. So the action needs to be taken now. This is our earth, all right? So this earth is ours. We need to take hold of it, protect it. But in doing so, it unlocks the business opportunity, the resources we need to grow. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So we'll quickly go to the Q&A session so that we don't waste too much time, since we still have the portal walkthrough to do. So please, if you have questions to ask either Mr. Charles or Mr. Wolali, let's see your hand and we'll ask you to unmute and ask your question. Or alternatively, you can drop the question on the chat box and I'll read it out for either of them. So please, if you have a question, raise your hand. I'll ask you to unmute and ask your question. I'm trying to check the comment section to see if there are questions there yet, but there is not just yet. So please, everyone, if there is a question you need to ask about what has been shared, or even what you have learned from the portal, please you can raise your hand and would ask you to unmute and then ask your question. Okay, so I think I'm seeing one hand, Mohammed Waid. So I'm asking you to unmute. Please go ahead, unmute and speak.
Good afternoon.
All right, good afternoon. Please, you may have to just direct it to the. Can you hear me? Hello,
I'm hearing.
Okay, so please just direct the question to the person you want to ask, so we don't have routing. But if the other person also wants to contribute, they can go ahead. So thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. My first question goes to Charles, and the question is like this. I want to use this opportunity to thank the two presenters for this wonderful and insightful discussion. So my questions go like this, because I have up to like 3 to 4 questions. Just for this climate, smart agri and carbon opportunities that have been discussing for all this while, I think this is very, very, very good because it's what is happening and what we are experiencing currently, especially where I am in Nigeria, here in Ilorin. My question is like this. I think we need, I don't know, after this program, because the program is about to wrap up, I would like and plead to the presenter and also the organizer of this program, the AFCB, to give us more time for this, because I think that this program requires more than what I've been sharing. There's still more to take, because the program I see that is like it's coming as a baby, it's coming, and then that's where we are going. As we are more even be African, particularly, we are more vulnerable to this. So I'm using this time to plead to the organizer to have some time, additional time for this kind of program, because under this climate change, 3 things are being mentioned which are very germane, which I think each of it need to be treated separately. The regenerative agriculture have to be treated separately. It's very, very huge. The carbon farming and carbon project is very huge, as well as the precision. So I think I plead to the organizer to give us more time for it. The second question is, I've been seeing many metrics for measuring the carbon. In fact, there's one I saw currently. It is on a carbon credit calculator. And I see that this thing is being used, and I think it is applicable for European Union. So what are the metrics? What are the way we are going to be using to measure this carbon credit for African, particularly? So that's my questions. And that's the second question. And then my last question is what type of trees, what type of agroforestry are we going to be engaged? I think we have to be specific with the kind of trees we are going to be planting for this carbon, for this climate smart under the carbon credit. So that's the third question. The fourth question is that I'm an agric engineer. So currently I'm giving a project, an assignment, because as it is now, there is no it has rain for where I am, in Ilorin, Nigeria, for quite going to 2 months. And then farmers are facing the heat. If you can see, a lot of farm have been wasted, dried off due to all this thing. But to show that climate change is really happening. We are experiencing it currently here in Nigeria, especially the southern part and the eastern, western part. So my question is this: I'm given an assignment to find the solutions to this, and then we are planning to adopt the irrigation method, which is the use of a solar power system. But this solar power system I'm trying to just put is just like it's just a means of getting the water to the farmer. What about the sources? We are going to get the water. And then the kind of recommendation I'm trying to give is just like, because most of the rivers are now drying off, they are not even traceable. I'm trying to recommend maybe we should use the borehole system. But by borehole system, I'm thinking because we are going to give it as a tool, we are going to adopt it to many locations and clusters, up to like 100 locations. And then adopting this borehole system, is it not impacting negatively? Because by the time we put it, because government is going to be government sponsored program, by the time we put it, is it not going to impact negatively to the climate change? Because water, we are going to tap into the groundwater system. So that's my question. I'm sorry for taking much of your time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mohammed. So I'm not sure you directed it to anyone, but then please, Mr. Charles, Mr. Olali, whoever can just go first.
Okay. I don't mind. I guess can handle the bit on the kind of agroforestry system. And then also, I think the irrigation systems that he's looking at or he's been tasked to work on. So on the agroforestry, I think, like I said, it's important that you contextualize these solutions that you are proposing. So for example, in agroforestry, I know that one of the cardinal principles is that you use indigenous tree species. So you can't take anything and then come and, promote in your local environment. There are specific standards that you have to go through. So first of all, you need to make sure that you align with the design. It could be an alley cropping, it could be pure, let's say, woodlots or whatever, but it has to conform to the standards of the, and I believe Charles will be speaking more about that. But one of the cardinal principles is that you need to make sure at least you are promoting indigenous tree species within the environment where you want to set up your agroforestry program. The second one is on the irrigation. There, I don't think there's one size fits all. You need to also understand the context or the locality in which you are looking to implement. In one area, probably boreholes may work, but there are also, water harvesting technologies. Instead of drilling into the water reserves, etc., you could also harvest rainwater, and there are technologies to do that. And then using your solar pumps to, make those water accessible to, their farmlands. So I would really encourage that their network, and that's why this platform is being provided for you to network with potential partners who are also technology or experts in this area, and it can help you to build those technology within your local context. I think contacts have been shared. We are happy to, provide more of these support so that together we can, create the needed impact, build the resilience, and also create a win-win situation for every stakeholder. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate your contribution.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks. So my only addition will be one to concur with the point on about the indigenous trees. One of the key regulations about the carbon methodology is that the trees you consider for either afforestation, reforestation, or even REDD+ projects, or even agroforestry, they must be indigenous to the area. Why this is important is because you might introduce a species which is not familiar within the particular ecosystem, and it turns out to be invasive, and then it causes a lot more problems. So one of the very key recommendations or requirements is the trees in mind must be indigenous to the area. You mentioned about requests for more time for the projects. I'm personally available to have like a 1 hour session whereby we can have a more detailed discussion on either one. So please reach out to FC and work out on a particular day and time, and I'll be able to avail myself. Now, the question of the kinds of metrics you're looking at when you're doing the calculation. So one thing is when you're looking at what you call a carbon footprint calculator, the kind of calculations will be more like they're trying to calculate a typical general scope 1, 2, or 3 emission. And the formula is usually very simple. Is you're looking at activity data multiplied by the emission factor. So by using activity data, what you simply mean is, for example, let's say if you want to calculate the amount of emissions when you're driving your vehicle that's running on a diesel internal combustion engine, the activity data will be the number of kilometers covered. Then the emission factor will be an IPC value that speaks to the amount of emissions emitted by diesel when it's being combusted every kilometer. When you multiply that, you're able to get the amount of emissions. However, when you're coming to the case of the carbon markets, the general formula is carbon credits is equal to ER, which is emissions, carbon credits, which is ER, is equal to baseline emission, BE, subtract the product emission, PE, subtract the leakage emission. What is baseline emission? So assuming you want to do, let's say, this example is from the clean cooking. Assuming you want to replace a 3-stone cook stove with, let's say, one which is made of, it's an improved cook stove or running on LPG. So the baseline emission will be what is the amount of emissions being emitted in the business scenario, in the current scenario, in the business as usual scenario. Then subtract the amount of project emission. So when you replace, let's say, your 3-stone Jiko with a 3-stone cook stove with the one from LPG, of course, the LPG cook stove is more efficient than using 3-stone because with 3-stone, you're losing a lot of heat and etc. So because of the efficiency of LPG, there'll be a reduced amount of emission because LPG is still a fossil fuel, but that is what we now call the project emission. When you subtract these two, ideally you should be getting now the carbon credits. Key to note is that, remember the table I showed about 170 different types of carbon credit types. So for each one of them, you'll find there's a specific carbon methodology. Maybe if you can take this down, if you're looking at doing a RED Plus project or a reforestation project, you'll be using one methodology from one of the standards by, it's called VM0048. It will give you now the specific mathematical formulas to calculate the baseline emission, the project emission, and so forth. So each carbon credit type has a specific methodology. In the context of, let's say, if you're looking at using solar water pumps, because the alternative will have been for you to use, let's say, a diesel generator to do the pumping for the water within for irrigation or whatnot, but now you're saying you're using solar as presented by my colleague, then you're able to still get carbon credits because you're using solar water pump, a solar for the pumping. And in that case as well, there are specific methodology, there are specific formulas for doing that calculation. And when you're looking at calculating credits from the nature-based sector like agroforestry, one of the key things you do when you're doing a baseline study is to try and determine what you call the carbon pools. A carbon pool is basically that component which is being able to store carbon. So it can be above ground biomass. Okay, basically it will be like the tree trunk and the leaves because that's where the carbon is being stored. It can be below ground biomass. In this case, we'll be talking about things like the root system. Some cases you can be told you can consider dead wood, you can consider the litter on the ground as also potential biomass for it to calculate. So there are a number of things usually we look to consider, or metrics if you want to put it, as we are considering calculating the carbon credit, but it will be determined by the specific methodology for the specific carbon credit type. I hope Mr. Wahid, I've been able to respond to the 4 or so questions you raised. Happy to answer more.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. All right, thank you, Wahid. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles. Thank you, Mr. Olali. And I think it's really important that we schedule more sessions. Don't worry, we'll look at that. So we are actually planning some mentoring sessions for participants that are interested in specific areas and all that. So we're actually looking at that, and then we'll convey that to you soonest, so as to be able to sustain all of the things that we have learned and also to build on them actually. So thank you very much, and thank you, Mohammed. We're looking at that. So to just continue, we have many more hands raised. Okay, but before we go to the other people raising their hands, I'll just quickly want to read some of the questions from the comment section so that our facilitators can help us answer them, and then we'll come back to the people raising their hands. So the first question I'm seeing here is saying, how can climate smart innovations be scaled up to benefit smallholder farmers in rural areas? So I'll just read them out before any of our facilitators engage the questions, so we don't do so much back and forth. So the first one is, how can climate smart innovations be scaled up to benefit smallholder farmers in rural areas? Then the next one, okay, I think this is also a follow-up to another question I saw earlier talking about funding. So another person is asking, do we have international organizations or even carbon credit brokers who fund or support persons or institutions that have maintained natural forests? Such people are giving up other opportunities that could have deforested such areas. They therefore need to be motivated to keep such beautiful and essential carbon sinks. Okay, I think this is talking about funding for people that are actually doing some of these things. So the next question is, let me quickly check again. Okay, what role do climate smart innovation play in building resilience against climate change impact in agriculture? And then the last one, I think, maybe not last, how can we access grants? Oh, this is still funding again, just like the other one. And are there potential investors in the sector whom we could be referred to? And then in majority of African farmland, the land is fragmented, and so productivity and ownership is in small areas. So what does this mean for carbon credits? Okay, I think Mr. Charles has even answered some of the questions. Also, thank you so much. And for the ones that have not been answered yet that I read out, please let's either of you can just go ahead and start first. Okay, so either Mr. Olali or Mr. Charles can go ahead.
Sorry about
All
that.
right, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So about how to scale climate, smart innovations to smallholder farmers. From my experience, one of the approaches, and I think I mentioned this in my presentation, what we've seen really works is leveraging the local relationship that farmers have with businesses in their communities. What I mean by this is that instead of having to build something from scratch, all right, what we see work is that rather partnering with an input shop or an aggregator or a farmer group, okay, in these communities, you're able to tailor your innovations or interventions to reach more farmers than having to go door to door trying to sell your product. At least that's something that we have learned. It's a more scalable way to reach. The second point so that's the distribution bit, or how do you take these products quickly to smallholder farmers. The other bit is around the changing behavior. From our work, we also see that doing a blended approach where you combine in-person and also using technology to reinforce, positive behavior change or social behavior change results in bigger impact in adoption. And data shows that at least 56% of farmers are adopting practices using the approach that I've mentioned. And so if you want to see change, then these are some of the solutions that I will recommend. Going to the other question about how fragmented lands are, and so implementing some of these carbon programs becomes a challenge. And I think, yes, that is true. However, it all goes back to the kind of agroforestry system, looking at your local context and then aligning to a much relatively one that is not stringent on setting specific, standards. So for example, we talked about using solar irrigation. The approach to that is totally different from agroforestry. In agroforestry, there's the land tenure and all that, and all these provide or has limitations. My recommendation is that let's not look at it just in silos. Let's go to farmers with a comprehensive package. So yes, you have an element of agroforestry, you have an element of soil carbon sequestration through either the use of soil amendments or using organic matter, biochar. They have biogas system. So you present a more holistic approach than just one piecemeal, because these are smallholders. They're farming less than, maybe 3 acres or 4 acres. So if you do it that way, you create more impact. And so the benefit also is more than just limiting it to one particular agroforestry system. And so if that fails, then it becomes a problem. Because ultimately the benefit is the increased productivity that you're expecting your intervention would bring to them, the market opportunity, and then the additional benefit through carbon, which by the fact that they took on these practices, they are also benefiting, you're going to receive in than seeing the carbon programs as the ultimate. For me, I think if we position it that way, we help also demystify these whole solutions, and also to let farmers understand, the concept. It's a continuous training process, which we have to really work together on. In terms of funding opportunities, I think there are many funding opportunities, okay? And like I said, this morning I had a phrase which stuck with me, that, money follows successful innovations. And innovation doesn't mean just taking technology. It means doing old things in a new way, or solving a problem with new, ideas or new technologies. So focus on trying to perfect, innovate, because there are many, many ideas that are chasing after money. Reinvent that will perfect your innovation, show the impact, and money will follow you. This platform gives you that network. You're doing something great, you are going to be showcased, you're going to be talked about, and that's how money will start chasing you. Thanks.
Thank you. So, all right. Go ahead, please, Mr. Just. Please go ahead.
I'm seeing there's a gentleman actually has been asking a question repetitively. I think Ali has been asking us about accessing grants and funds. So maybe I can answer that question to tie to also the question on, there's a question about people who are looking after forests. How can they also get the carbon credits or even the finance? So one, there are quite a number of entities that provide grant financing, especially in the nature-based sector. I'll say, if you're able to look into the website of IUCN, they often every single year they provide quite a number of financing for the nature-based. That is IUCN. Now the question on who can buy the credits for the forest you're taking over. So first of all, I'll say for you to be able to get carbon credits, the project must be registered by a particular carbon standard, go through a 9-stage process to make sure you can get the so-called carbon credits. Then once you get the carbon credits, the ecosystem has quite a number of people who buy credits from them, from the what you call nature base. And the nature base could be what you call, broadly speaking, we call it a follow, that is agroforestry. So that is agriculture, forestry, and other land uses. So who buy some of these credits? Most of the people who buy the credits, of course, are not from within the continent. Most are coming from the global north. And this includes the likes of some of the common companies we know of, includes Netflix, for example. They're very keen on buying nature-based credits. You have got Nespresso. I hope you're taking this down. Netflix, Nespresso, the likes of Apple also do this, and also Delta Airlines. There are quite a number of companies who are often looking for nature-based credits, and they often prefer what you call removal credits. For example, those from the nature-based sector, and also from the likes of biochar. Somebody also asked the question on aggregation, and I think Mr. Wolali has mentioned this, and also if I'm not wrong, and Mr. Wolali can confirm, but I know that ACON, that is ACON Rabobank, does some programs here, even in Kenya and Uganda and Tanzania, by aggregating smallholder farmers and supporting them with carbon project development in the areas of agroforestry. So aggregation is usually the easiest way in which you can bring together smallholder farmers, even though you do not have adequate land to make economic sense. There's also a question I've just seen here on if people are looking at doing the productive use of appliances through solar projects by way of solar, who can provide financing. So I've just mentioned in the chat, there's an entity called Googler, that is G-O-G-L-A, Googler, and CLASP, C-L-A-S-A-P. They tend to provide some bit of support to do feasibility study, depending again on how serious your opportunity is. Because again, you have to make sure, as we mentioned by Wolali, that there's plenty of finance out there, but before anybody is able to secure finance, you have to go through an extensive due diligence. So you must make sure things like your feasibility study report, your business model or a financial model are in good standing for them to consider you. But there are quite a number of financiers on renewable energy project for agriculture or even nature-based projects. There are quite a number of people. All you just need to do is get your documents in good order. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Olali and Mr. Charles. Thank you so much for providing all of these insights. So we'll just quickly go back to the participants raising their hands. So we have the first person as okay, so it's going to go in this order. Siponono goes first, after which Obaje goes, and then Gertrude Basharon will go the third. So please, Siponono, I'm asking you to unmute and speak.
Good evening, everyone. Thank
Yeah,
you
good
so
evening.
much for the presentations. It's been very, very enlightening. I need clarity when it comes to climate smart practices, particularly focusing on soil health as well as prevention of erosions. We keep hearing interchangeably using indigenous species as well as hybrid crops. So one needs to understand which works best. Do you look at hybrid given the short period for growth specifically? But then once the soil, once the crop or plant has been removed from the soil, what then? Or do we look at indigenous crops? What comes to mind would be a millet plant, which has its deep roots that will ensure that during heavy rains, at least your ground is protected from erosions. So which are we supposed to be practicing? Which is the best practice in essence, because it gets quite confusing. Hope I was clear. Thank you so much.
All right, so thank you so much. All right, so who's going first?
All right, then.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir.
So yeah, so I think maybe so I get your question. The issue about using indigenous tree species. This is referring to your setting up agroforestry. So for example, you are in a Sahelian region or savanna region, and then you bring trees from a different ecological zone to implement agroforestry. Part of the principles, as Charles explained, is that you need to adopt tree species that are peculiar because of these, unintended consequences that could happen as a result of pursuing that. To your other points that I mentioned that, adopting hybrid seeds, or using indigenous, what do you call it, species. The hybrid seed conversation is more to do with how do you help farmers, adapt to these, variabilities that the weather presents. So for example, we have prolonged droughts, or we have shorter rain periods. Now there are early maturing seed that have been developed through selective, breeding by scientists. These are not genetically modified. These are just using pure natural processes, but putting science to them. So what I was trying to explain is that you look at these improved seed varieties that are available, which you can use. I think the bits that maybe you got confused about is, so instead of maybe doing monoculture, you can do crop rotation where you are using deep-rooted crops in one plot of land, and then in the next, maybe you are using shallow-rooted crops. This helps to maintain the soil, balance within, your farm, or, incorporating cover crops and stuff like that. So these are all practices that you need to, available in literature. But then when you are applying it to your local context, you need to understand what kind of crops, what kind of, improved seed varieties are available in my country or in my country that I can leverage on and use. So just to clarify, we're talking about using indigenous tree species, especially for agroforestry. You would not qualify. And also there's an element of additionality that they also, talk about. But the key point is they would want you to promote indigenous tree species for that ecological zone you want to establish an agroforestry system for a carbon project. And then there's also the bit around promoting or using improved seed varieties, or which could be early maturing, drought resistant disease or pests. And these are coming from, research scientists or within your countries of, of origin that have been bred, tested, and have been released into the ecosystem. I think that is the clarification I want to present. I hope this puts it in proper context. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I couldn't add anything further. In the context of carbon projects, one thing we often do, especially when you're considering doing a project, is by way of doing feasibility study, where there's a pilot session, to just make sure that whichever, even when you're doing your reforestation bits, there's no negative harm on the ecosystem. But I can't add anything further to what Walalia said, because that's entirely the kind of approach one takes when you're looking at agroforestry, or even ARR projects, or even the RE+ project.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you very much. So just to add my voice to this, I think some weeks ago we've also established the fact that improved seeds are different from GMO seeds. And please, if you were not around, I think that was week 3 when we talked about mitigation strategies for processing and packaging. Please, you might have to go back to that link and look at that session again to gain more insight. So thank you very much, both Mr. Charles and Mr. Olali. So Obaje, please go ahead and speak and ask your question.
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, we can hear you.
It's also a privilege again having the opportunity to speak. And mine is more of a contribution and bringing us to the light of progress, because I've been going through the questions and the comment sections. I've seen how enthusiastic much of our members here are, and how interested they are to know when it comes to funding as regards to agroforestry and afforestation, and even funding access into carbon credits and all that. And I would just want to encourage us to broaden our scope and to broaden our horizon as regards to our intellectual engagements. When we attend programs like this, it should spur us to read further and to deepen our understanding. Like for the past 4 years, Personally, I'm a management consultant and I'm also a farmer. One of my big clients, Green Sahara Food Network. Currently, we came up with a global collaboration, which we call Circular Bioeconomy Alliance, and our action is it's called we came up with a program called Reforest Action, and all these issues of carbon actions, carbon credits, and this whole climate action issue came into a view that led us to bring such efforts into ground. Why am I bringing in this? Within our area and within where we live, there are little details we actually leave out. You could be walking past your neighborhood, you see after harvest season, let's say, like currently we are just passing through the harvest season, and a lot of us have mango trees, a lot of us have cashew trees, a lot of us have palm trees, and these seedlings that fall, some of these seeds generate into little seedlings, and we ignore these things till they dry off and wear off. Now, we're talking about forest action. We're talking about climate resistant action, that we need to take certain actions to make sure that the impact of carbon, the emissions are conserved. Now, we have to actually begin to look within ourselves. What am I really doing? This is one of the questions I think each of us should take home after this whole program. It's not basically about the certificate. It's not all about the networking. What am I taking home? Like, I traveled, and upon my return from my journey, I discovered that most of the fruiting trees in my house that were not probably utilized, most of them had grown into little nurseries. There are mangoes, there are cashews. I just went to the store, I bought bags, and I put them up into nursery beds. And I'm in one of our projects now. We're going through schools and we're going through certain neighborhoods to donate these things to communities, so they could begin to plant these things in their neighborhood, so we can begin to make climate impact. These are climate impact actions. It's a little effort, but giving ourselves the next 2 to 5 years, these trees, out of 100, let's say 70 or 60 might scale up. We grew up having neighborhoods with trees, but today, looking around us, the greenery is dying off. Currently, as we speak in Nigeria right now, we're having serious drought issues. I have my farmers in Taraba, a cluster of about 500 of them, and they are at the verge of losing their harvest because of climate action. Rain is delaying. The mazes in the farm are drying off. People's effort is before their very eyes. They are losing their investments. All right. Then we also have issues like water conservation now. How do we conserve these things? People, when we have this abundance of rain, we could have what we call reservoirs. You could dig reservoirs, you could invest. These are tenable actions we could actually take to sustain ourselves. Then, considering like in cost 3, where we talked about soilless agriculture and all those things, these are actionable things within your neighborhood. So I just want to encourage this house and just to give a voice that we have the actions while we're actually looking at outsiders for collaboration within the house here, with ourselves and within our neighborhoods and our communities. We should actually look inward. What can we do, to give to lend a voice and give a little impact to see how we can actually conserve our environment, so that we can sustain. Because the whole idea of all what we're talking about is, how do we sustain life here on this side of the universe? And these actions begin with you and I. From the waste being where we see seedlings sprouting up, we could turn them into nurseries and then nurture them into plants. If you can end a tree at the end of your life, and you say, okay, I won't be here in the next 20 years, but people will be here benefiting from the impact of my effort, I think it's a whole lot. So mine is just an encouragement to us here that we shouldn't just hear our facilitators. These African food change makers have brought in very inspiring facilitators who actually shed light on a whole lot of these modules that we have learned, and we should become actionable. We should take actions while we are even on this. Currently, from just 2 weeks ago to this very time, I've been able to save about 50 nurseries from just what the trees in my house have availed. And I'm going to certain communities to donate them to certain community heads, so they could, within their ward heads, you should spread them around communities, strategically position them to see how their environment, because the neighborhood is already drying up without trees. People cut these trees and they don't plant them. These things have implications on us. And already Africa is, according to World Food Program, by the year 2030, Africa has been earmarked specifically by World Food Program to become the food hub of the world. That means that there's something that Africa has already that is attracting the world to us, because actually from the Western world right now, they don't really have those environment anymore to sustain themselves. So we are already at the prompt of assessing this help. What we need to do now is to prepare ourselves and to be actionable. Mine is a call to action, and I encourage us all to take actionable steps. So thank you very much for having me once more.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for that action point that you just gave. It's really important that we all know that at the end of the day, with all of the knowledge, if we don't take actions, it still goes back to waste. And so thank you so much. So we have 3 more people. Please, just these 3 more people. I may not be able to entertain more questions after these 3 answers spoken, because our time is fast spent already. So quickly, let's go to Gertrude, and from Gertrude we'll get to Piranto. Please, Gertrude, go ahead and unmute. Let's hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for the very enlightening sessions. Something that stands out for me is the issue of energy management. I am Nigerian, and we have a huge energy supply deficit that makes it, I mean, we all know the importance of, energy, reliable and sustainable, clean energy. And a lot of us are actually interested in, exploring the opportunities in renewable energy, for instance, solar, to be precise, even in driving our small businesses. But the cost is always very out of this world. I'll give you an example. I'll share a personal experience. We are currently working on setting up a grains processing plant, rice, and in a number of other indigenous grains in a very local community. Of course, that means that local community does not have electricity supply. And so here we are, we've set up the place, but we can't start running it because we don't have energy. And I was at an event where, we were being educated, enlightened about solar energy and, the huge opportunities that, are there. And I said, oh, wow, I should look into this. I mean, this is very good. And so I invited them to do an energy audit. By the time they gave me the bill, I was like, wow. Even the entire processing plant didn't cost us that much. So my question therefore is, how is there a way that solar can be made more readily accessible, available, affordable? Is there a way? I don't know. I don't think it's out of the context of this class, but I'm hoping that I can get some answers. Thank you.
Okay, so I think for the Mr. Chassi, you want to say something?
Yeah, maybe I
All
can
right,
just
okay.
bit of pointers or guidance. Well, I'll give the case of, let's say, in Kenya, what the government did. The government of Kenya, to make solar appliances more affordable, it removed the duty from importation and also VAT. But if you're looking at the context that maybe you want to become a distributor or have a project in the areas of distributing solar appliances, it could be solar home systems, it could be solar pumps, whatever. There are a number of entities that run programs or grants that you can explore. The one I want you maybe to go into their website and look for either opportunities of financing or different entities that can be able to support you in this endeavor. It's a company called Googla, Gogla. So if you go to the website and you look at the members, then you got the list of, let's say if you're in West Africa, you click on the list of West Africa, you'll see a number of companies. And from the number of companies, you might be able to find one or two companies that are actually financiers. I don't have the particular names in mind right now, but if you go through that, you might be able to find it. Actually, let me just see. You can look for the following three companies. Let me just post them. Just let me just post these four companies that I know they have an interest of supporting entities looking at opportunities in the areas of solar productive appliances. Yeah, I've just posted them with the links. There's one called RAFOR there. There's AECF, African Enterprise Challenge Fund. There's Solar Frontier Capital, and there's Hyperport. Of course, when you talk about financing, there are different categories of financing, but should you reach out to the company, to their personnel and see, you're able to have that discussion. But yeah, that is some of the people who I think they support. Yeah, and also the one I mentioned is called Googla. Let me put the name there. Googla. And then there's a program called NDEV, and then lastly there's CLASP. So just go to the website and you'll be able to see some of the things they're doing. I've posted some of the entities and I wish you the best of luck, depending again on the nature of the program you wish to undertake. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Thank you so much. So we have the last person, Biran, to please go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. This is Pirato Lemosion from Kenya. I have one comment and one question regarding the restoration or the use of indigenous plants. I am a dryland ecologist, and I have noted that there is some increased, or rather, there's an introduction of alien invasive plants that really threatens the biodiversity of the landscape that where they are introduced. So I just wanted to highlight that once we are doing the maybe the introduction of plans for restoration within the same land or say the same country, we become very careful because invasive species have become a big threat to not just the landscape but even the livelihood of the people. Like we have two counties in Kenya that are two different plant species that have been introduced. There is a cactus called Opuntia stricta, which was introduced to Laikipia. It's alien. And there's another one, for those who know Kenya, which was introduced to Baringo County in Kenya, which has also become a big threat. So it is very important that we become intentional when we do the restoration, when we accept plants, even if it is from the same country, but we got to know whether they do well in that particular landscape where it's a new introduction. Now to my question, the use of indigenous plants is really the thing. It's very important. But my question is, how do we say increase the growth of the indigenous plants? Because as far as I understand, apart from now the soil, which stores a lot of carbon, the second is this kind of plant. But we need to see around how we can increase the growth of this plant, because their growth is very slow. I want to believe that the growth of a plant is mainly either promoted by a certain hormone or inhibited by another. So I am wondering whether there's any research across the the continent or even the world that has tried some of these plants or rather some of these to see that whether there is any way where we can increase the growth of this plant. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. So, Mr. Charles or Mr. Olali, does anybody wants to respond to the question?
Sorry, I missed. I don't know if you want to summarize it. I missed that question.
Okay, so Piranto, you might just go ahead again and repeat your question. So he was talking about, I don't know, if you're not able to speak, I can just go ahead and speak for you.
Okay, thank you. So my question is around how we can increase the growth of the indigenous plants. I don't know whether there's any research, because I understand either growth promoting hormones or growth inhibiting hormones play a big role in the growth of the plant. So I don't know whether there's any research done across the continent or even across the globe that has tried on how we can increase the growth of the indigenous plant. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for your question. I think I shared with you that we have, there are some research institutions, Global Research Network. So the CGR network is one of them. The CGR is a UN network of research stations, and IITA, for example, is part of that network. My recommendation would be to reach out to their regional office in your country to confirm if there's any work of such sort that has been done on indigenous crops. And as a matter of fact, actually, we hopefully will be doing a project in Ghana and also Cote d'Ivoire that is going to be documenting some indigenous seeds and crops, because we realize that there's that gap of information that can be accessible. But I believe that maybe a research scientist might have done something like that and probably stuck in some book or some thesis paper, doctorate thesis somewhere, and it needs to be on app so that we don't lose those resources. So for now, my recommendation is for you to go to either of the research stations or institutions in your country, try and confirm if there are existing trees, because usually when they want to breed new seeds or varieties, they start from such lines and they have these in stock. And so it could be very useful to engage with them. But I don't have one directly. It's just some project idea that we're looking to digitize some of these resources that are available and make it public. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. Maybe for Piranto, as you mentioned in Kenya, I'll say you can look at our agency that is Carefree, Kenya Forest Research Institute. They should be able to provide detailed guidance because they're the ones who do all the forest research within the country. In terms of an NGO, I can think of the Green Belt movement, perhaps also they tend to support in this. For those, let's say in the areas of West Africa, I'll say then you could look at, especially in the Sahel region, you could look at an FDB or an AU supported program called the Great Green Wall Initiative. But yeah, for the case of Kenya, what Pinante is looking at is, I'll say KEFRI. KEFRI will be, I'll suggest will be your best bet in terms of getting technical guidance on your issue of the indigenous trees and whatnot. Yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Olali and Mr. Charles. So just to add to what I've been said, you know, IITA is actually in many countries and they are actually working on some of these things. I remember last year we had the BRACE participants visit some of the IITA facilities, and one of the key learnings for all were improve seeds growth and all of these things. So some of these things mentioned are being tackled by organizations like the IITA, the NISPRI, and even the Great Green Wall, like Mr. Charles have rightly mentioned. So I think this year we'll have to probably visit some of these facilities again with with everyone in the BRACE team or in the BRACE network. So let's look forward to our study visit, and then thank you so much to our facilitators for today. Thank you for the exciting session. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the new ideas and then the knowledge that you have provided us. We are very, very grateful with all of these things that you've done or you've given to us freely today. So we appreciate you so much. I'm sure participants are already saying thank you in the comment section. So thank you so much. But before we let our facilitators go, we just really want to take a picture together with them like we always do. This is our receipts to say, yes, we know you from somewhere, Mr. Charles. We know you, Mr. Olali. You were once our facilitator when we had the BRACE program and all that. So please, okay, so many people have started putting on their videos. So please, our dear facilitators would what you will request the honor to have your video on so that you can take snapshots with it. I don't have mine on, sorry. Sorry. So thank you so much. Mr. Charles is not on your video yet. So thank you for everyone putting on their videos. Thank you so much. So we're going to share these pictures eventually so that you have the picture, and when you see Mr. Olali in Ghana, you're like, oh yes, I know you, sir. Or you see Mr. Charles in Kenya, you're like, oh, I know you from somewhere, from the BRACE program. You came and spoke to us about opportunities in climate smart agriculture adoption. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm sure my team members are taking the pictures already. So please, everyone, let's, oh yes, so many people having their videos on, and this is really, really good. This is great. So thank you very much, everyone that are putting on their videos and ensuring that we capture these moments. So thank you so much to Mr. Charles, Mr. Olali. Thank you so much. So do have a good evening. But dear participants, we'll have to wait back so that we'll have conversations around our portal use and then the modules and every other thing that we need to know. But then while we are doing that, we'll just say a goodbye to our facilitators. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles and Mr. Olali. You're well appreciated. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye. Okay, so yes, we quickly want to go to our portal walkthrough. So for most of us that are still having issues, oh, a hand is being raised. Ali, you or is okay. This is the portal walkthrough session, but maybe I should allow you to ask your question first. Ali, you please go ahead and ask your question. If it has to do with the portal or any other thing, I would gladly respond to it. Please, I'm asking you to unmute. Please unmute and ask. Okay, I think I should share my screen again. Okay, if Ali is not there, another person is raising their hand. Emilian, I'm asking you to mute. Emilian.
Hello. Yes.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I'm from Tanzania. I've logged onto the portal several times and took my classes and my lessons for several times, but it's very unfortunate that I couldn't download the materials on the portal. So I was wondering which ways where I would get to get those materials.
Okay, so the additional reading materials from the portal. We have actually discussed this before, but okay. So we understand that so many participants are not able to download the reading materials or the additional resources in the portal. So we have actually downloaded all of them, all from module 1 to module 6, and we have put them in the WhatsApp group for everyone to be able to access. Maybe you can check the WhatsApp group again, or you can reach out to any of the admins in the WhatsApp group. If you're not seeing them, would make them available to you again.
All right. So last time we had.
Okay, I'm listening, please.
Oh yes. The last time we were given the instructions, we will be asking some of the admins, but unfortunately, I sent a message and there was no reply from.
Maybe we have so many people sending us messages. So sorry about that. But please send us a message again, or check the WhatsApp group. Please send me a message. Okay, send me a message. I'm part of Primo in the group. Please send me a message, and I'll do well to reply to you. So sorry for not getting responsive. Okay, so I have so many other answers. Maybe I should allow you all speak before I get into the portal walkthrough so that we're not repeating anything. So I think there's a Galaxy A12. Please unmute and ask your question.
Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. I can hear you.
Please, I'm Hikma.
Okay.
With regards to the portal, I've been there. I'm done with my distance, but that of my model 5, I wasn't satisfied with my score, so I wanted to retake, but trying, I don't know how to go about it, or it's not permissible to retake the test.
Okay, so if you have exceeded the benchmark, the score that is the approved score, you may not be able to do it again after 3 times. If you have not tried it 3 times, you should be able to go over it.
No,
so
I had 83.33, but it's not, I can't retake it. I only took the text for once.
Okay, so you might have to reach out to me either via WhatsApp or even the Brace email. The same email we've been using to reach everyone. So you can reach out to us via that email and we'll try to sort it out for you. You should be able to take it 3 times before you're not able to retake it again.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay, Aliu is if you are there, you can now speak. I think your answer is still raised. Aliu is asking you to unmute and speak. Okay, so if you are not there, we'll just continue with the portal. So the link I sent to everyone, or we sent to everyone, this is what it will show you. So once you click on that link, this is what it shows you. And then you have to now input your email address. Okay, I'm inputting my email address. And then the default password that we set to you is what you put there. So if you have changed your password, because it's possible to change password by doing password resets, if you have changed your password, it means you can no longer use the default password that was sent to you. You have to use the new password. But if you have not changed your password, you can go ahead and use the password that was sent to everyone via email or WhatsApp. So what you do next is to click the login, and the portal opens to I think my network is delaying, but should open. Okay, so once the portal opens, this is what you get to see in the portal. So for people that have not gone through the portal before, for people that they are logging into the portal for the first time, you will not see what I'm seeing now. What you will see is the pre-diagnostic tool. You have to answer those questions. Oh, I'm sorry, it's still loading. It's loading slowly because of network, but yes, I think we can see it now. So if you have not logged in at all before, this is not what you see. You will see the pre-diagnostic tool, which you have to answer all the questions. So after answering the questions, you will now be granted access to the dashboard. And this is my dashboard that you are seeing here. So on this dashboard, there is the dashboard itself, which is what you are seeing. And then there's the modules. So the modules is where you see all of the modules in the BRACE program. So you see the first one is the climate change and your agribusiness. The other one is adaptation and mitigation strategies in production. The third one is adaptation and mitigation strategies in processing and packaging. And then we'll have the fourth one, the fifth one, and then the sixth one. So inside, when you get here, to take your learning, you have to click on the modules. So you click on these modules, you have to click on the courses one by one. So I just clicked on introduction and it's showing me. So if I am a French speaking participant, so what I do is that I just click on show French version, and then I start listening to the courses in French and all that. So, but if I want to maintain English, then I'll just go on with this, and then I'll play it. Once I play it, start playing, it will have to end. It will have to end, and it's only when it has finished playing, at least to the end, that I'll be able to access the next course. Some people just come here and they don't play it at all and click on next course. You won't be able to access the next course. The only reason why this next course is still active here like this, is because I've gone through it before. If I was opening it for the first time or I was looking at it for the first time, this next course will not be active. I'll have to go through it first before the next course will be active, and then I'll click on it, and then it will take me to the next course. It will take me again. When I finish this one, it will take me to the next course. If I want to go to the previous one, maybe there's something I think I'm missing from the last video, I want to listen to it again, I can just click on the previous course. Otherwise, you go to the next course again, and then you listen to it. And then these are the additional reading materials. The greenhouse effects, these are the additional reading materials and all of that. Then this is the course discussion. The course discussion is more like the assignment, but the assignment in this case has nothing to do with you being submitting or anything. It's just like a group, a course discussion. It's just like a thought-provoking question where you try to probably over around it and get to understand the context of this subject or this course better. So that's actually how that works. And then when you click on the next course, you see all other additional reading materials again. So we have downloaded all of these additional reading materials and uploaded them on the WhatsApp for everyone to access, because we noticed that some people are not able to access it, even though we have explained how it can be accessed, but some people are still not able to access it. So after this, you now click on the next course, which is the summary. Listen to the summary. This summary is actually trying to summarize the entire module in one and other. So after that, you now click on the assessment. So the reason why the assessment is not showing here is because I have done the assessment before. So so when you come here and you see the assessment, you take the assessment. After taking the assessment, that is only when the next module will open to you. If you don't take the assessment, next module will never or will not open to you. So that's actually how that works. So I don't know if there are questions. I could be able to take them. Our time is fast spent, but this is like the basis of how the portal works. So for the assessment history, this is where you get to see the history of all the assessments that you have taken and all that. Then for the top scholars, this is where the top scholars are actually being uploaded, the people that the top performance from the assessment in the week. So from there you get to, and also note that these top scholars, that this Wahid Mohammed is the first person. It doesn't mean it will be the first person in the top scholar that will eventually come out at the end of the week. The reason is that these scores are also used with the attendance. So we collate both the attendance and this to be able to form an aggregate for the top scholar for the week. So we have the self-help. Self-help, this is where you get videos that can help you navigate the portal easily, and then the settings is where you come to. Do you want to put in your photo, or you want to change password and all that? This is where you get to do it, and then you can easily just log out if you want to log out. So if there are questions, I'll stop sharing so that if there are questions, I would let you ask. Otherwise, okay. So please, if you have any question, you can just raise your hand or even write it in the comment section, and then I'll allow you ask your question. So because our time is also fast spent, we may not be able to do the membership drive today. Or do membership. You already know what the membership drive is, and that is to tell you to become a member, and then to show you the benefits of being a member in AFC. To also tell you that Braze is just like a subset of the big things that AFC is doing and all that. So if you're a member of the AFC hub, you'll be able to enjoy many other benefits that the platform provides. So please, if there are no questions, okay, somebody is saying something in the comment. I have tried many times, but the portal does not open. It is just loaded. This may be your network, or you may have to do a hard refresh. A hard refresh is Control-Shift and R if you are using a laptop or you're using a computer. But then if you're not using that, you're using your mobile phone, you might have to go to your browser and then click on the three dots at the top right corner of your browser, and then you see where you'll be able to clear your cookies or clear your data. So if you clear data, it refreshes the browser and makes it load faster for you. But then if this is still difficult for you, you can please reach out to any of us in the admin group, and then we'll reach out to you. And then this is also to let you know, and the big announcement is that for everyone that completes the course, we're going to pay you back for your data. So we're going to be doing a data refund for everyone that completes the Braze program and all that. So that's actually it for today. I think there are no other questions. I'm not seeing any other question here. And okay, all right. Thank you so very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. If there are no questions, I would want to say do have a good evening or good afternoon, depending on wherever you are. Until we meet again next week. Next week is actually our last live interactive session. We're having week 6 next week, and I hope to see all of you next week. And after next week, you will now be able to download your certificate, especially for those that have completed the modules. So thank you so much, and then do have a good evening. Thank you, everyone. All right, so bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Great session. Thank
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.